Today I'm going to focus on those vocal atmospheres that are very popular in tracks by artists like GMJ, Matter, Alex Orion, in organic house by artists like Volan Sentier, Prof. It's not as easy as it sounds to make these atmospheres work so well in your track, so I'm going to show you some things that you can do to make it sound really professional in your music. And lastly, there's going to be 3 different techniques that I show you to grab your own vocals to make these atmospheres. I'm going to be showing you tips and tricks throughout the entire video, so make sure to watch all the way through, otherwise you might miss something valuable. All right, let's take a look at the project I'm going to be using to add in some vocal atmospheres. Has that nice deep melodic vibe, perfect for adding these vocal atmospheres too. And by the way, you can download this project file in the link in the description below or up in this card right here. Technique 1 is going to be singing your own vocal. And I know that you might be nervous to sing your own vocals. You might think they sound bad, but with all the processing that you're gonna do, it's not gonna matter if it's on a bad microphone. If you're not a very good singer, you should be fine. And if you can't do that, you can just rely on techniques 2 and 3, but first we're gonna do some singing. What's cool about Ableton is you can use the plugins inside Ableton and directly record your vocals with that processing already on it. This makes it pretty fun to actually hear what your voice is going to sound like as a vocal atmosphere. Check this out. So we'll go into settings, change the device to our microphone, and I have this channel here. Now when I talk, you can actually see that it's moving. I feel weird not singing into a microphone because this is my microphone right here, so I'm going to use this cat. It already sounds great. Oh. So it already sounds really good thanks to the Supermassive adding a ton of reverb and delay on there. And this is where we're gonna get those really nice vocal atmospheres. This is Valhalla Supermassive. It's a free plugin. I'll put a link to it in the description below. It's a great tool because it adds a ton of washy reverb and delay. And if you don't wanna use this, you can of course just use regular reverbs and delays, but Supermassive has a lot of great presets you can go through and it just makes your vocal atmospheres sound amazing. You wanna have a really high mix, a lot of feedback, and you can add some different modulation here as well, which is going to make the vocal atmosphere sound like it's kind of moving around. So I have an EQ cutting out the lows, compressor just in case it gets a little bit loud. Then I have a tuner to show that I'm singing on key. And on its own, the vocal maybe doesn't sound amazing because I'm not an incredible singer. So I'm going to use a tool to change that vocal so it sounds like it's sung by somebody else. This is Audemy. This is a tool I've used on the channel a couple times before. And basically it's an AI vocal tool that takes vocals and actually has them sung by an AI singer, which is really cool. You can make your vocals sound like somebody else is singing it. I can choose my singer. I want to choose a female vocalist because that's quite different from me. There's tons of vocalists to choose just by previewing here. Choose Amina. Scroll down and choose my conversion strength. I'll choose about 80% and remove the reverb and echo because there was a little bit, and remove the noise. Click convert. We can take a listen how it sounds. So it obviously doesn't sound like me anymore, which is really cool. If you want to check out Audemy, check the link in the description below. Dropped in the vocal, I've added this tool Supermassive, and it already sounds really, really good. So this is the original. And with the Supermassive, sounds really, really nice. Let's try it in the track. Already sounding awesome, but let's go ahead and grab 2 more samples before we jump into the actual processing and writing of these vocal atmospheres. Technique number 2 is using samples from places like YouTube or Spotify. You can use whatever you want to record that voice, but I'm gonna use Audemy so I can grab directly from YouTube. So I'm gonna search Wicked Game Acapella. I chose this because I know it has a really strong vocal part that would work really well melodically. Remove the reverb and echo because I'll have my own. Okay, so I want to choose 100% conversion strength because the claim on Audemy is that if you're using the AI singer to cover something, it's technically copyright free, but technically you should be getting permission to use any vocals that you're sampling from. Grab the section that I want to grab, which is probably around here. And maybe I'll grab some of this over here too. Make sure this is the right spot. Yeah, right there, perfect. Amazing. So I'm gonna grab just that section. That's perfect. Let's get rid of all this over here and then try that with the Supermassive. It's gonna sound great. And then what I can do now is actually grab different pieces and place these throughout my track. Obviously this is very close, but you can play this throughout your track and you're gonna have all these different atmospheres that are just gonna be absolute ear candy, and place them strategically, maybe in build-ups or breakdowns or when the songs gets a little bit repetitive, but these are just gonna sound so good. Right, just amazing. You can also use Audemy to add in some harmonies to make even more vocals. And can also drop those onto my channel to make even more atmospheres. But we're not done yet. There's still another way that we can grab samples, and then I'm gonna show you some tricks that you can do as well to make the sound even cooler. The third and final technique of getting samples is simply by grabbing them from sample packs and turning them into these atmospheres. So I have a sample pack here. This is a new sample pack from Basic Waves. Let's check out some of these samples.
My only one.
That's cool.
My only one.
Oh, and they come dry too, which is great. Okay, I like this one here, so we're gonna grab this one and throw that into the track. What's cool too is they already put some atmospheres, and this is just the taster pack, the small sample. There's a full pack that you can get online. I'll put a link to that in the description below. So now that I have mine here, we can take a listen to it. That already sounds pretty good. Let's turn it up a little bit. Some extra things I can do now is I can actually pitch this up or down or move it up a few semitones. So let's go up another octave. Already sounds really good. And what I also like to do is actually stretch it. So I'll take something like this and I'll stretch it really long. So let's just consolidate that, turn on the warp, and then you can stretch this out like this, and then it makes these really weird artifacts. And just by doing this, you are just creating a lot more what you can experiment with that vocal, and you can actually make like effect hits. So if the track is building up, you can find a strong consonant or like a strong noise in the vocal. So let's go ahead and take a listen. Let's grab maybe the U. Oh, right there, that hard, the tien. So I'll get rid of that. I'm gonna grab this, looks kind of like a shriveled up pepper laying over. Get rid of all this. And with this one, I'm gonna do a different effect here. So I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of this, grab this, put this on right here and mute these. With this one, I'm gonna choose the Valhalla. Instead of the Valhalla Supermassive, I could use that. I'm gonna use Echo. And Echo is the reverb as well, but I'm gonna go ahead and push this feedback up a lot, like really high, over 100, 101%, 102%. And it's going to sound like an effect, like an impact. I'm gonna push up that low pass filter so more high end comes through. You can put a little bit extra reverb on here. Double up the reverb, can push it further back in the mix. So if you want it really soft, you can double up the reverb. But if you want it a little bit more in the front of your mix, you want to bring less reverb. That sounds pretty cool, but then you can actually do this filtering trick where you push this up, and at every delayed signal cuts more and more of that sound out. I hear this in a lot of Alex Orion's tracks. Let's test it in the track. So I'm gonna use it here as like sort of an impact sound. This is really powerful because it keeps it interesting for this whole time as it's fading out, right? It just keeps it interesting, it's unique, and it's filling up that space, gluing the whole track together. And keep in mind, you don't even have to just do this with vocals. You can use like guitars or other instruments. I have a full guitar sample pack on my Patreon. I'll put a link to that in the description below. And check out how these guitar would sound with the same processing. Push that reverb up really high, make it more of an atmosphere. It sounds great. And what's more is you can actually turn this into like a string or a pad instrument if you just take the EQ, throw it after, and cut out a lot of that high end. Maybe pull the reverb down a little bit. Especially if you lower the octaves. Let's grab that vocal, let's bring the octave lower, and you can actually make like a really warm pad. The idea is to grab melodies that work well with your track. You want to make sure that they're in key, and if they're not in key, you can just change the pitch of them to fit inside the key. And if you're using a vocal that has multiple notes and one of them isn't in key, you could actually cut it and then grab the one that's out of key and move that, and then keep the other one that might be in key as is. And that way, if you're moving up the whole vocal note, it doesn't change the keys for both of them, it changes them individually. I also find that pushing up with a bit of EQ and the airiness can really help these shine in a mix if it's already a very busy mix. Makes it a bit more airy, pushes it kind of further back in the mix. And like I said, doubling up the reverbs can really push it back and make it huge. You can also get things like an auto filter, throw that onto the channel, add some LFO onto there, and that's gonna make it sound even more interesting. Because that auto filter is moving back and forth, it's changing the way that that atmosphere sounds, and you can double up atmospheres like this and play them throughout the whole track, and they're gonna be filtering out a little bit and opening up a little bit, and it's gonna make it have so much movement, and your ears are always gonna be trying to like figure out what's going on in the background of the track. It's just a really, really good way of making your track sound really professional. You wanna layer up at least 2 or 3, 4 or 5 of these atmospheres and play them throughout your track, interplaying them back and forth. So you can have this one playing, and by the time this one ends, you want to bring in, you want to bring in another one. So this one ends, that is going. As it's fading out, the next one comes in and replaces it. It doesn't have to be throughout the whole song, but by doing this over and over throughout the song, it really keeps you on your toes and it keeps the listener guessing, and it can make it very, very professional sounding and get you signed to those bigger labels that work with this. Another trick to try out is when you stretch these, or if you have very long vocal takes, if you add a big attack like this where it's fading in, it sounds really good because it slowly builds into that vocal. And that way it doesn't sound so obvious, and when you're listening to it as a listener, it comes in slowly, you don't even really notice it sometimes, and then when it's there, it just sounds really atmospheric. If you have it come in full volume sometimes, it's a little bit obvious, and it kind of distracts you and your ears pick up on it. So try to decide which one would fit the vibe of your track better at that moment. These vocal techniques are really great for getting that deep sound. But if you want to learn how to make a full track like GMJ, Guy J, Volancentier, or Alex Orion, then click this playlist right here, which features a bunch of videos covering their styles. Or if you just want to watch something that YouTube thinks that you'll like, check out this video right here.